Grand Rising, Grand Rising. I just had an interesting sleep from last night. Um, I was definitely prompted. I don't know if anybody can relate with this one, but when people have made the reference to having a download, my ears would start ringing and perhaps a headache, nausea, different physical symptoms, but it was very much in alignment with what I would refer to as a download. And I'm laughing, but it's quite a serious topic, you guys. Quite a serious topic. Quite serious. Um, a better part of my career, um, it doesn't look like it now, but I used to work in healthcare, and I used to rock the scrubs, man. I was in the scrubs. And uh, I was working as an EMT, not as a first responder, but I was working as an EMT in an emergency room. And I was like an aide to the nurses and doctors, and in a whole bunch of different ways. Anyway, that's not the point of my story. One of the jobs that I had as an EMT working in an emergency room in a hospital, uh, one of the side jobs that I had was when someone would pass away, transition, die, anywhere in the hospital, they would overhead page me, and I performed. Um, I referred to it at the time, or it was referred to at the time as morgue detail. I had morgue detail. However, on this particular occasion, um, where I'm going with this is after several years of study and life experience, um, genuine study and life experience, and I'm an experiential learner. The lessons I learn, I don't learn from books, um, but I either have an experience or I learn something from an experience someone else has demonstrated. That's how I learn. Um, that's where my brain focuses. And this experience that I had working in the emergency room, um, was one of those experiences, and it taught me a very valuable lesson. And one of the lessons that I've come to know in my heart is when we pass, when we die, it is my um, firm knowing that we take the love with us, um, or the lack thereof. And what is our focus through the course of our life? And I'm also a believer in 51%. 51% of the time I was on point, and I was doing the right thing, and I was loving. And I'm not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, by no stretch, but I feel the good fortune of having the opportunity of perhaps redemption. That I've been able to correct some of the mistakes, a good portion of the mistakes or poor choices that I've made. I've been able to make amends with people. I've been able to share in the lives of, um, perhaps not necessarily blood family, people that I'm blood related to, but I have had wonderful experiences with people who I would refer to as soul family and friends. But let's let's get right to it. So I was working in the emergency room, and oftentimes when there was a call in from an ambulance out in the community, um, I would field the call. They would give us the whys and wherefores and who they were bringing in, so that we could prepare the correct room for whatever treatment they needed. And on this particular occasion, it was a an adult male, um, no older than I am right now, no older than I am right now, and I'm 55 years old. It was an adult male, my age, suffering cardiac arrest. Um, and unlike TV shows and things like that, you guys, we have this idea of a heart attack where somebody just drops dead from a heart attack. I assure you, it does not happen that way. Not all the time. What they generally show on TV, somebody dropping dead from a heart attack, that is referred to as an acute myocardial infarction. Um, uh, Acute, boom, you die. That's it. But people, more often than not, they have symptoms leading up to the heart attack. And I'm not, I don't practice medicine on any level anymore, and I don't want to. But anyway, so they're bringing this guy in. I'm fielding the call. The doctor can hear what's going on, and I'm writing down the details. So he is right in the middle of having a heart attack. Um, so that's the chime to me. Okay, and they say how far out they are. We're 5 minutes out. We're 10 minutes out. We're still stabilizing him. We'll be there. This is when we're going to be there. And I would hang up with them. The doctor and the nurses would know, the cardiac team. And I would run to the cardiac room to make sure that it was all set up and ready to go. The AED and et cetera, what was referred to as a crash cart. And they brought this gentleman in, and let me tell you, he was an impressive sight. He was dressed to the nines. He was here in Maine on vacation. He was dressed to the nines. He looked like he had just stepped off of a yacht in the south of France. I mean, dripping with gold. The $20,000 Rolex on his wrist. Anyway, and they bring him in and they hook him up and this, that, and the other thing, and they treat him. But unfortunately, the damage was so great. And this is another thing too, you guys. They show sometimes on TV. Once the pads are on somebody, once they've got the boom, they're trying to restart the heart. That also is a misconception. There are times where they do the charges when the person is still conscious. They're in a lethal, what is referred to is in a lethal arrhythmia, and what they're trying to do, even though the person is conscious, they're trying to regulate the heartbeat and get it into stasis, into a proper heartbeat. And it was just, I think we all kind of knew that this guy had very little chance, but while they were bringing him in, and while we were treating, I was standing off to the side. The doctors and nurses are doing, and I'm kind of I was like a gopher, as it were, in most of those situations. I would perform CPR when necessary. Anyway, long story short, he didn't make it. He didn't make it. He did die right there on that table. And prior, again, he was conscious right up until that part of where the heart attack progressed, and he had an acute myocardial infarction and his heart just stopped, and he was conscious right up until that. But the level of fear, some people, there's anxiety, absolutely. They're experiencing a heart attack. They feel like they're dying, absolutely. They're sweating profusely. Um, there's certain physical, whatever, they're scared. But this gentleman in particular, he was scared. He kept referencing his watch. Make sure nobody steals my watch. Dude, you're having a heart attack. Don't worry about your fucking watch. I mean, we didn't say that to him, but it's like, anyway, this is where his heart was. Anyway, he passes away. Sadly, he passes away. And after all was said and done, I went down to the morgue and I grabbed a gurney specifically designed for morgue storage, and I brought him down to the morgue, handed off the paperwork to the clerk, and generally speaking, what happens is they contact the next of kin, whoever that, and there are ways of finding out, they find their next of kin no matter how far or distant. In an ideal situation, you would want, of course, you would want the doctor to have a personal connection with a family member, but that is not always the case, and that wasn't the case in this particular situation. So I handed off the information, his packet, to the morgue clerk, and she went about her business to contact the next of kin. And in that case, the next of kin would make the decision of what was going to be done with the remains, with the body. Do they want it brought to not a nursing home, a funeral parlor? Do they want it shipped home to, California? Whatever, who knows? And this particular gentleman, he was one of 6 children, so he had 5 brothers and sisters. And I recall the clerk calling me back down to the morgue because she had a question, and I went back down there, and she's like, "You're not going to believe this. You're not going to believe this." And it was tough. It was tough. Basically, she contacted all 5 of his siblings, and the general consensus from all 5 of his brothers and sisters was, and I'm gonna tell exactly what they said: "Fuck them, let them rot." That was the general consensus from his family. Fuck them, let them rot. Now, I remember the look on her face when she shared this story with me, and how difficult it was for her to share this story. And I've experienced something similar on one other occasion. But what is it? That the immediate question that came up for her and I, both of us, the immediate question that came up was, what could this man have possibly done? How poorly could he have possibly treated his family, his brothers and sisters, that they would all have that same response or reaction? The wording might have been slightly different for each one of those 5, but it was all the same. It was all in the same spirit. And it was just like one of those moments where you're aghast. You can't believe that someone would have lived a life where not one of his family members felt or sensed any compassion for his passing. And that was a powerful experience. Again, I'm an experiential learner, and preferably I would rather learn something generally from someone else's experience That's why I enjoy hearing people's stories, because there's a lot of wisdom in other people's stories, things that they've experienced. And what it taught me, um, what it taught me, you know, life is short. Life is short, and we always think we have more time. We think there's going to be time to make an amends with that person, or to tell that person we love them just one more time, or um, to offer a word of encouragement, or to say something that we've always longed to say, or an act that we've longed to perform for that person. Um, and tomorrow isn't guaranteed, man. It's not guaranteed. I am quite certain that this man, when he went on his vacation to Maine, had no, he probably wasn't anticipating that that was going to be his last experience. And what a powerful lesson it was for me, because I lost my father when I was very young. I've had experiences through my life, and there's nothing promised. There's nothing promised. Um, and how we choose to live our lives, and knowing, I remember going back down to the morgue, and I had to put his paperwork back with him, inside of the body bag. I had to put his paper, and he was still wearing that Rolex watch. He still had the Rolex watch on, which is odd, because normally in a situation like that, they remove, the person is, um, they have all their jewelry or whatever taken off of them. But anyway, he still had his Rolex watch on. And I remember thinking, after hearing how his family reacted and responded, his reaction, make sure you don't lose my watch, while he was in the emergency room. And then seeing him laying there with that stupid fucking Rolex watch on, it's like, dude, you can't take it with you, man. But you can take the love. You can take the love. The thing that we take with us is the love that we've expressed, the love that we've experienced, or the lack thereof. I'm often misunderstood. I'm often misunderstood because I've adopted that heart condition myself. Of I don't, I care what other people think and feel, of course, from a compassionate standpoint. But I've gotten to that point in my life where if I genuinely am guided by my intuition to say something to somebody that's loving and heartfelt and uplifting and supportive, compassionate, I don't hesitate anymore. And a lot of times, I am often misunderstood. Why is he saying that? Um, but here I am, and you know, there's nothing promised. And I feel a certain sense, while my familial relationships are, I guess, weird. I was always like, I was always like the weird kid in the family. So, I mean, I whatever, but I was having a conversation with a friend a couple of weeks ago, and what is important to me, what is important to me, what is important to them, and the sharing of thoughts and feelings and emotions and what have you. And once you take that fear away of what lies beyond, and appreciate what we do have every day. um, I've had the good fortune of loving and being loved, and I get to take that with me when I transition, and that's a wonderful feeling. You know, it's a wonderful feeling. And I hope today for you, you experience a peace that surpasses your own understanding. Um, I had to share this. Um, it was like, again, it was like one of those moments where, oh shit, this is a download kind of thing. I'm like, you got to share this. Hopefully the headache won't come because, you know, usually when I've had these experiences, the earring, the nausea, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh fuck, I gotta, you know, whatever. But I had to share this stuff. You know, it's whatever. But a peace that surpasses your own understanding, and have a glorious day. Have a glorious day. I'm out.